98.1. Shopper Martins.
And Victor Peppel are with you. And for the next half hour, we've got our analyst in the studio with us in the form of Mr. C and Lakunle. Good morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
Good morning, Shopwell. Good morning, people. Good morning, the whole world.
I
Let's
think we
have a
sound
good
like an
show.
angel after we've introduced you.
So calm.
Very gentle.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Lagos.
Hey, Mr. C.
All
All
right.
right.
Now you can be part of the show this morning by sending messages to. Remember, we're streaming live on YouTube. It's youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos. All right. The Punch newspaper. Buhari orders ministers with political ambitions to resign. And the president has ordered all members of his cabinet and appointees vying for electoral offices to resign on or before May 16th, 2022. Mr. C, if they do not resign, what will happen?
Okay,
What next?
thank you, Victor. So, yesterday, the president directed all his appointees who are seeking elective office in the next general elections to resign. Now, this was predicated upon the fact that one of them, understandably the Minister of State for Education, tendered his letter of resignation. It's also coincidental that this directive came on the same day that the Court of Appeal of Abuja nullified the decision of the Federal High Court Umuahia, which struck down Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act, which required political appointees to resign before contesting the party primaries. Now, to your question, what happens if they don't? Ideally, theoretically, he should fire them if they don't resign.
Mm-hmm.
And moreover, if they do not resign and contest the primaries, an aggrieved aspirant can then sue. She can challenge the emergence as declared winners, and the courts would be likely required to set aside those nominations. But it's very interesting that our public office holders do not have a moral duty, appear not to have a moral conscience that if you're going to contest an elective office and you're not the holder of an elective office already, like the vice president, you ought to resign because already there's a conflict of interest. And our listeners will ask, what is this conflict of interest? You have been appointed to carry out executive duties on behalf of the president, as he may delegate to you pursuant to his constitutional powers. You are set in office, you are supposed to be serving the greater good of the public. Then you juxtapose that public duty with your personal desire to be elected, which means you have to attend meetings, you have to see people, you have to travel, you have to consult. So we are all witnesses to the fact that 24 hours a day is clearly insufficient for public officers to do the work that is
But
set
what do
before
you
them.
say about Minister of Labor, Chris Ngige, who is still seeking interpretation from Mr. President? Says he has to meet the president for clarification.
No, I'm, I don't know what to say to that because first of all, the brother of Dr. Chris Ngige, is a senior advocate of Nigeria. If you are seeking the interpretation of the court's pronouncement or the Electoral Act, why are you speaking to the
No,
president?
his argument is it was the Minister of Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, who came to announce to them he wants to meet the president between now and Monday to ask him, Oga, was it you?
I'm sorry. For all intents and purposes, the Minister of Information is the official spokesperson for the government. So when he comes out, it is presumed and believed he's speaking on behalf of the government. And the only person who can come out to refute or debunk what he has said is the person that employed him. That is the president. If Dr. Chris Ngige is serious about seeking any interpretation, he should speak to his brother or proceed to the court. But certainly not to the president, who is not a lawyer.
Dr. Ngige is just playing to the gallery, in my opinion. Let's even leave the legal matters out of the matter. Mr. President is the one that has the power to hire and fire his ministers. What he's just done, he's just fired them. Let's even leave the legal part of it. He said all of you want to contest for political offices. I want to have your resignation letter latest 16th of May. That is firing. It's just fired them. There's no two words about it anymore. There's nothing to interpret about a firing. It's just being civil to say, I want your resignation letter. So that's just it.
Premium Times News now. Fuel scarcity. Federal government counters Ipman on 500 billion naira claim. Provides payment details. Yes, the receipts are coming out, it seems. Now, the chief executive of the agency, Farouk Ahmed, said that the government was not owing the independent petroleum marketers that 500 billion naira that was bandied about in the news yesterday. He said the marketers were continually paid as their claims are verified, in fact, because it's an ongoing process. And I'm going to quote him now. He said, "Recall that in December 2021, they claimed they were being owed 50 billion naira. Even though that claim too was inaccurate, how has 50 billion become 500 billion naira in 5 months?" And luckily, I bring it over to you.
Sometimes it's funny, laughable, and sometimes it's so upsetting when you open the pages of the newspapers and you see this kind of claims by two, three, or more parties to an issue. Okay, so it is an ongoing thing. We knew that over a period, over a period of time between those 5 months, there was an increase in demand for the use of these products because of course. So there were two or three national grid collapses in that period. So that could be a reason for the increment in the volume of the amount that is being owed. The representative of the NDPRA is not saying that they don't owe 500 billion. He's saying we are paying it as it is being verified. Yes, the Ipman man could also have inflated the figures. Don't forget, he's just the chairman of the Kano branch. He's not the national chairman, so he may not have the full details of whatever it is. But whatever it is, the point is that money is being owed. We know how all those things go on. We know how both parties inflate these figures. It's when they disagree as to how or when these monies are to be paid and all that it gets to the public. And this is part of the reasons we're saying we can't be doing the same thing the same way over and over again and expect a different result. This money that we're talking about is that bridging thing that to keep cost the pump price uniform across the country,
which many people have reported which usually isn't.
Exactly, which if you ask me, why are we still doing it? It was supposed to, when this thing started, that was the original subsidy when it started, that when we had to import, okay, so keep it uniform across the country, I'll pay you the cost of getting it from Lagos to everywhere else. That was the original subsidy before we now took it backwards to even I'll pay you the excess of how much you buy it from outside that we are now in. Okay, so it was supposed to be a temporary thing for a 6 months, 1 year thing while we were building refineries in those years then. Now we have built the refineries. We have pipelines to transport these things. We acknowledge that people steal from the pipelines. We have not done anything to stop that stealing. We have not done anything to make our pipelines functional. Look at the amount of money that everybody is banding around. And there are so many other things that need this kind of money for us to go forward to make better use of money. But we are here arguing about paying somebody for using trucks to move petroleum products from Shagamu to Lokoja, or from Ibadan or from Ilorin to Mina, and so on and so forth. And then so it's the cost I give you. So it's the cost I give you that I've done it. So you have to pay me.
But luckily, when we're looking at the costs now, considering the fact that we just yesterday were speaking about crude oil theft and a possible scenario in which rather than pipelines, we would now be moving crude by trucks. We need to figure out.
Somebody gave us a breakdown of what that means. 4,000 trucks to move from one port, well, from maybe Port Harcourt to the refinery where he works or something every day. Where are the roads that those trucks are going to travel on? Where are the trucks? The insurance of those trucks, the risk of moving those things on the road to other road users and so on and so forth. So those are the things that we should be spending these monies on. Why can't we secure our pipelines? We all know that that's the cheapest way. In Europe today, gas travels across the whole of Europe from Ukraine, from Russia, by pipelines. Nobody talks about trucking. But here we are talking about trucks in 2022, and somebody is collecting so much money to do it.
All right, luckily. Now, remember, you listening can be part of the show by sending in messages on WhatsApp. Feel free to react to the conversation. It's 0809 Just send in messages on WhatsApp. We're streaming live on YouTube, Smooth 981 FM Lagos. You can also drop a comment on the live stream. Let's take you now to the Guardian newspaper. INEC to suspend online voters registration. The Commission said it will suspend registration of continuous voters registration online, the pre-registration nationwide by the 30th of May. In fact, the INEC chairman, Professor Yakubu, on Wednesday said the online pre-registration and physical registration will continue until the CVR exercise is suspended on the 30th of June. Mr. C, what does this mean?
Okay, thank you, Hector. So currently there's an ongoing voters registration exercise, and it's a hybrid model being adopted. So you can either start your registration online and finish it physically at a center, a designated center, or you can physically go to a center and sort everything out at once. Now, what the INEC chairman has said is the online part will end on the 30th of May. That is in about a little over 2 weeks from today. In fact, 2 weeks from Monday next week, it's done. Then the physical part will end on the 30th of June, will be suspended. Now, why the online part is ending on the 30th of May is because INEC wants to give the online registrants sufficient time to physically locate a designated center and complete their registration. Now, the physical bit ends on the 30th, is suspended on the 30th. Now, with all things Nigerian, there is no mention of when they intend to resume it. And this is one of the questions this is one of the issues that agitates my mind. And I was speaking with Lakule downstairs before the show. You have a group of Nigerians who will turn 18 between the 1st of July and let's even say the 31st of December. If for any reason INEC does not resume the registration of voters, new voters, you've automatically disenfranchised that entire group through no fault of theirs. What does it take to get the cards ready? It's the same process that you print bank cards, debit cards, credit cards. It's the same process. So why would you deliberately want to disenfranchise a cross-section of Nigerian society? And let's not forget, when you analyze Nigeria's population today, the 18 to 35 group is the most populous subgroup. There is no reason why you are suspending continuous voter registration on the 30th of June. I'm sorry. It's not capable of being defended.
So two things.
Isn't it in the name? Continuous?
Continuous,
according
but
to
yeah, they always suspend it.
They are
INEC
suspending. You know, suspension in Nigeria does not have a, in quotes, meaning. I've suspended whatever. It could be indefinite. So suspension could resume, say, June 2024. Resumption could be June 2024 or June 2023
Okay, so
after the election's been done. So suspension.
So let me just quickly say this. Rather, if they wanted to cancel it, they will be afraid of the backlash from Nigerians. So they start with a suspension, hoping that with all things Nigerian, there will be issues that will pop up now and again, and people will forget.
But could INEC also be doing this to make a lot of people rush to register online and come out physically? Because they said from the previous registrations they've done, over 300,000 cards uncollected, and it's just laying around at their offices. That's one. Two, the suspension, which will take place 30th of May for online and then 30th of June for physical. Like you rightly said, some of the young people might be disenfranchised by this. But INEC also would say, they're using this period before the election to put to collate the final register and then begin to publish for collection. There's also going to be a collection period before the main elections next year.
So first of all, so very quickly, one, if they're trying to take a rush, if they're trying to get people to come, they cannot deal with the rush, the surge that will happen. Two, this is nonsense. You've known for 4 years that you were going to conduct an election. Why is it in your case it takes forever to update your records? Every day your records should be updated automatically because you have a digital list. Each day as you add, the algorithm of the software updates it. So this is all ridiculous. I'm sorry.
All right, we need to take a break. When we come back, we'll bring more stories and then look at your messages on the WhatsApp portal. Stay with us.
I'll take the
Time,
first three messages.
time has gone. Oh.
That reminds me, you couldn't take my call all through yesterday.
You're
Oh,
calling.
you tried
Yes,
calling?
I called.
The phone lines were hot.
What?
I was calling yesterday. But I wanted to speak about the what was the discussion self Lagos talk yesterday.
It was about. Listen to my.
What was the Lagos talk yesterday about?
The way I
No,
closed
no,
the
it
day
was the
before.
petroleum one.
It was the
Petroleum,
petroleum
yes.
whatever. Yeah,
Okay, this is just not going to
I
blend.
was listening to Divu as he was vexing.
Oh, so James said, my uncle was suspended from government / public office in his early 30s
Who's
and
that?
remained suspended till he died after the age of 70.
Aha.
Okay.
Suspension. That's what suspension means to them in government.
When you say you're suspended, that's it too.
You know, you could be suspended and you be at home and still be
Mago.
receiving salary.
You know, Mago was never fired.
Yes.
Yes, yes. They promoted him now. The police. He was a police officer now. They promoted him.
That promotion has come
They
out.
promoted him. Then people, began
Even
to protest. Then they
Ribadu was
swept under the
suspended.
carpet, but he was
The
still promoted.
MPA, the
We're back.
MPA and the Hadiza was
Did you-
suspended.
Suspended.
And we're back to take some of your messages on the WhatsApp portal. Keep sending them across. It's 0809 444 0981.
Okay, going over to that platform, Jane says, good morning. My uncle was suspended from government and public office in his early 30s and remained suspended until he died after the age of 70. Whilst Tunde says there are cultural dimensions to these issues, sabotage is rife in Nigeria, unlike in Europe. Do they vandalize pipelines in Europe? In Nigeria, there are insiders within a system that even aid with the vandalism through information that is then passed on to criminals. And Lakon came back with the breakdown that you were discussing, Lakonle, where we talked about Ipman and the NMP DRC. Yeah. We have this, he says, move crude oil, let me try that again. My facility exports 1 million barrels a day, and 1 million barrels equals 159 liters, right? And we export 1 million barrels every 5 days. This translates to 159 million barrels. If a truck loads 33,000 liters, this means that you would need 4,800 trucks to transport 1 million barrels that could be pumped in 36 hours through the pipeline.
Wow.
That is crazy.
All right.
Thank
Cisco
you, Lakon.
Delgado also sends in a message here. He says, there's nothing to be sorry about because Nigeria on her own is ridiculous. Well, that's your own thoughts, Cisco Delgado.
And Lenin has this message. We can also use vessels. Trucking will be a logistics nightmare. But Lakanle is right. Let's secure our country and pipe this product instead. Okay.
All right. More stories.
Okay, now we're still going to stick with INEC, and this time we're taking a look at what 18 political parties are doing, which is seeking extension of the deadline for primaries as INEC rejects their plea and insists on June 3rd as the date. No postponements, no pushing backwards. We're just going to stick with this. Lakanle, tell us about it.
Yes. While we have berated them for suspending continuous voters registration, let us also commend them for sticking by the plans. The political parties have no excuse. They have no reason. They have no where to hide. They have nothing reasonable in asking for this extension. The electoral cycle is every 4 years. We all knew immediately the elections results of 2019 were announced. We all knew when most likely the next cycle will start. Over 6-7 months ago, INEC has announced the timetable for this cycle. What have they done in those times? What have they done to prepare themselves for this inevitability? Why are they asking? What guarantees them what's the guarantee they are giving that when it is extended, they will meet the new deadline? We know that it also eats into the time of INEC's timetable in terms of litigation, which says that all litigations must end how many days? I think 90 days or
30 days.
30 days before, and so on and so forth. So INEC, they've done a good, it's a good one here that they have stuck to their timetable. So any party that cannot meet that deadline, it's
So
all
wait,
good.
luckily, considering the fact that the national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, which is where the political parties brought out this their complaints or their requests, let's put it this way, considering the fact that Sani said that the Salah holiday, the Ekiti and Osun state gubernatorial elections, and the screening of an unprecedented large number of aspirants were the issues that would then hamper what them meeting up with this.
So how did all those things happen? They just fell from the sky. We didn't know that there were going to be elections in Osun in in June. We didn't know there's going to be election in Ekiti before now in July. The parties cannot manage their members to control the aspirations of their members. That speaks a lot about the leadership of the parties in itself. So how is that INEC's business? I beg, let's move on.
All right.
Right.
Moving on.
So the Osun election will be in July 16th, on July 16th, Ekiti,
Okay,
June 18th.
June. Okay, I missed
Yeah.
up.
All right, so let's take you now to the Premium Times, where appeal court nullifies judgment on section 8412 of the Electoral Act, but says the law is illegal. Now, the Court of Appeal has voided a ruling of a High Court that nullifies the controversial section 8412 of the Electoral Act 2022. Although the appellate court essentially validated the controversial law, it said it would have ruled otherwise if the main suit was properly brought before it. Mr. C, help us with analysis of this.
Okay, thank you, Victor. So, a few weeks back, the Federal High Court sitting in Umuahia, in a ruling, nullified Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act, which prohibited political appointees from taking part in political party primaries or even standing for office until they resign from office. Now, in an interesting twist of events, the matter challenging the said section wasn't filed in Abuja. It went all the way to Umuahia, and the Court of Appeal, in delivering its ruling or judgment yesterday, said, one, the matter was found that the Federal High Court lacked the jurisdiction to entertain the matter, which is correct, because the National Assembly is located in Abuja. The act was passed in Abuja. There's no Umuahia has no connection to any of the events. Two, the plaintiff who brought the action has no locus standi to present the action because he did not disclose any cause of action that would accrue to him. Now, however, I haven't read the judgment, but the report suggests or indicates that the Court of Appeal also said that if the matter had been properly brought before a competent court of jurisdiction, it would have upheld the nullification or the removal of section 84, subsection 12. I can't comment on that because I haven't seen the judgment. However, it's instructive that following this judgment, political appointees at the federal level have now been told to resign. Now, given the timetable, which is already in place, and given INEC's reiteration of its commitment to stand by those guidelines, there is no time to file a fresh suit and have it sorted out.
Mr. C, this section 84, has brought a lot of controversy. Now, a part of this section 84 says that these same political appointees cannot stand as delegates in their political parties' primaries. But we saw the National Assembly, the Red Chambers, the Senate, trying to quickly amend that because, it might somehow affect some who are close to them from being delegates during the primaries coming up in 2 weeks.
So, considering what you just said, remember it was only the Senate that passed that amendment. The House of Reps is yet to do it. And until the House of Reps passes a similar amendment, it doesn't become law.
I'd just like to throw this story in because we're still on this. Now, the National Judicial Council is tired. Yeah, we can tell from the Punch newspaper. NJC issues new policy to check conflicting orders and judgments, and they're saying that this regards policy directions on political and election related cases, and they're talking to the head courts in Nigeria. So, under the new direction, head courts are to be henceforth held responsible for loopholes in their areas of jurisdiction, and it applies to all suits filed in any court in Nigeria wherein the parties include INEC, any political parties or its officers, or you know what, at this point, anything that has anything to do with a political party or any election into public office. I mean, luckily, we can kind of see where this is coming from with the suits that fly back and forth and conflicting judgments that come from them across the nation. What do you make of
In
this?
one sentence, the tiredness of the judicial arm of government of Nigeria is tired, and I think that this is a good one. We have to make a particular. It's of particular note that here in the judiciary, you know that the chief judge, subject to the recommendation of the Judicial Council, I hope I'm correct, can immediately, with immediate effect, retire, sack, remove, demote any judge who contravenes any of these directives. So we hope that this would bring some sanity into our judicial system, particularly as it affects electoral matters.
All right, that's the most we can take on the show for today. But thank you very much for being a part of the show. I will come back again tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. We must thank our analyst Lakunle and Mr. C. You can catch up with them on Twitter. It's Lakunle70 and Monsieur C with the triple E. You can also tag us into your conversation. It's Smooth981 FM. My name is Victor Pepple.
And I'm Shakwa Martins. Coming up, 8:15, The Grapevine.
It's at Hallmark Insurance. Anxiety away, value assured.
They are tired this time.
The stories.
Oh, I love that. Tired.
Now to go and do my meeting.
Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
On Smooth 98.1.